The thing is, when you simplify, that can get you past all the noise that we operate in, that's mostly in our heads every day with all these things that distract us. When you simplify, you can start to get clarity on, okay, what truly is important in terms of helping us advance our strategy, reach our goal, accomplish our mission. And if you can get everybody in an organization focused, that's the mother lode. That's probably the most powerful force multiplier, is to get everybody to share a focus. The thing is, we tend to go to work thinking, it's a trap we fall into. We go to work thinking, I got 1,000 things to do today. When you talk to people that are struggling, or even businesses that are struggling, they will say things like that. They'll say, this is a really complicated business and we got 1,000,000 things to do. And by contrast, when you talk with people that are successful and sustaining that success and growing that success, they will tend to say things like, at the end of the day, this is really a pretty simple business. And they'll also say, we've got maybe 3 things. And if we do those 3 things every day with excellence and with consistency, then we're good, then we'll win. One of my favorite things I heard from a past client was the CEO of a national construction company. And he got in touch with me it was about a month after I'd worked with their leadership retreat. And he said, we go on this leadership retreat every year, and we all come back with pages of lists of things we're going to do. And we either don't do them or we do them halfway. After working with you, we all came back with a list of 3 things to do. And we came back and we got focused and we did them, and now we're on the same track. And it's just, as the saying goes, boom, that's what I want to hear. Because that's what it's about, is getting everybody going in the same direction. And it's a powerful, powerful thing to do in terms of improving performance and certainly in terms of results. The way I work is collaborative in a number of ways. Certainly before the event, I'm collaborative with the client because we want to be in sync. I want my messaging to work with their messaging so that there's some synergy going on. And then at the event, I'm collaborative in that everything that I do has an aspect of interaction to it. It's conversational. I don't have any interest in going in and doing a 1-hour PowerPoint lecture where everybody sits in nice, neat rows and listens, and I'm doing all the talking. And I certainly don't want it to be about me. I want it to be about the ideas and about them. And most of all, what's going to happen when they get back home. But when I'm working with the group in the session itself, I get them to engage with me. I get them to engage certainly with the ideas and even to engage with each other. So there's some energy in the room. The thing that happens at a lot of meetings is everybody goes home motivated, but they get home and in spite of that feeling of motivation, nothing really changes. And if that's what happens, then the question is, well, why did we all get dressed up and get on airplanes and go and have that meeting in the first place? What was the point? The point for me at least, and certainly at the event, you want it to be up. You want it to have energy. You want people to feel great. But when they get back home, is the needle going to move? And I want the needle to move more than it's ever moved before. I want there to be a before and after, because it's about results and performance. That's the point, and that's what I try to make happen every single time with every single client. In just about every group of leaders I work with, there's a question that I always ask. And the question is, I'll say, how many of you frequently have this thought? The thought is, I think we're making this way more complicated than it needs to be. And every hand in the room goes up, mine goes up. Because we all, meaning individuals, meaning businesses, we tend to overcomplicate things. And when we do, it gets in our way. It scatters our efforts. It makes for bad decisions. We pay a price for overcomplicating. So why do we do that? Well, I think the main reason is because it's so easy to make things complicated. Any knucklehead can make something complicated. It's hard to make things simple. But I think that's one of the leader's core responsibilities, to simplify the complicated. To me, the the Jedi master of simplifying things was Steve Jobs of Apple. Jobs, in an interview a few years ago, he said, simplicity and focus have become my mantra. I love his word choice here. He said, it takes a lot of hard work to get your thinking clean enough to make things simple, but it's worth the work, because if you can make things simple, you can move mountains. And most people agree with that. I mean, the best answer is usually the simplest answer. It's not the most complicated answer. One of my favorite forms of feedback is when, after the event, I hear back from one of the leaders that I worked with, and he or she says, you know, we went back and we started looking for ways we could simplify, and they were everywhere. And we did it, and it changed everything. It made all the difference in the world. That's powerful. And it's, again, it's part of a leader's job to simplify the complicated. Get absolute clarity throughout the organization, not just in the offices of you and the managers, absolute clarity throughout the organization on what is most important here. I want to show you the cover of a book because it illustrates graphically what we're going to be talking about. This is absolutely one of my favorite books by one of my favorite authors, which would be me. You see there's a row of red apples over here. You want that to be your competition. Can't tell the difference, just can't tell the difference. You want to be the green apple. What are the three things that if we excel, if we execute, if we do these three things right every time, all day long, we'll win? Now let me ask a much, much, much tougher question. We are nearly unanimous, if not unanimous, in our agreement that we have to get better every day. Everybody agrees. Well, we have to get better. It's an imperative. It's a requirement. Have to get better every day. What did you do yesterday that made you better? Well, we couldn't get better yesterday. We were slammed yesterday. You should have been there. The basic idea is, how do you separate yourself from the competition? How do you differentiate so clearly that the marketplace doesn't even see you as being in the same category? Those are as basic as it gets, but they're so good at the basics that they are cutting edge. Be the best at what matters most. How many of you said this to yourselves in the last year? How many of you have said this to yourselves in the last week? You know, I think we're making this whole thing way more complicated than it needs to be. Anybody? Were you guys just talking about that? You tell me your experience, which is generally the best answer, the best solution, the best idea, the simple one or the complicated one? It is so easy to make things complicated. It's tough to make things simple. But if we're interested in becoming more competitive, then that's one of the things that we have to do. See, when you make things simple, you get clarity. He taps me on the shoulder, I turn around, he goes, hey buddy, can you see me? Because, I mean, I can see you. Why can't they see us? Now, here's the kicker. If you had asked any one of those employees, if you had said, hey, are you doing a good job? What would every single one of them have said? Yes. Here's the problem. There was no clarity on what mattered most. How many of you are customers of Les Schwab? Raise your hands. Okay, a few of you, a dozen of you. Answer this for me. When you pull your car into a Les Schwab parking lot, what happens? They run to your car. This was not rehearsed. I love to imagine that at the end of the day, one day, Errol's standing around the tire store and somebody says, we sell tires. How can we set ourselves apart? And I imagine some 18-year-old kid with grease on his face, and he's standing over there and he says, I don't know, maybe we could just like run out there or something. Yes! Yes! Maybe you could just run out there or something. Great companies have great ideas and they take action on them. Now listen carefully. Mediocre companies also have great ideas. The difference is they don't take action on it. How many of you have something that you know you should do in your business? You know you should do it. It's the right thing to do. It's the smart thing to do. You are capable of doing it. It would make things better. And you're not doing it. Is it just me? Anybody else? Can I get a witness? The ideas that you will hear at this event are only of value if you take action. Michelangelo said the great danger for most of us is not that we will aim too high and miss it. The great danger for most of us is that we will aim too low and hit it. Thank you so much for having me. This is such a privilege. Aim high. Have a great time, gang. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.